the Mustard Seed Project. Thanks for being at our community forum here at the Crandall Center. Today we're talking about electric future, and we have our presenters, Nicole and Eurydice from Pierce County Planning and Public Works. So take it away.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Nicole. Like Julie said, this is Eurydice, and we work for Pierce County Planning and Public Works in our Sustainable Resources Division. So today I just wanted to share with y'all kind of broadly what we'll be sharing. We'll give a brief introduction as to who our team is and how we're nestled within the great big umbrella that is Pierce County government. And then we'll talk a little bit about what each individual teams do in terms of environmental education, waste reduction and recycling, and then sustainability, which is what Eurydice and I both work on. And then we'll dive a little further into some of those projects that include things like home electrification, and Eurydice will talk a little bit more about a very exciting new webpage campaign that we have to help folks learn more about the upcoming rebates for home and vehicle electrification. And then we'll just settle with some questions, and if we have time, have a little activity and have some resources for y'all to look through and take home. All right, so again, I mentioned we are part of the big Planning and Public Works Department, which has many different divisions within, such as surface water management, sewers, roads. We are part of the Sustainable Resources Division, and then within that division, we work on roughly 3 different categories that I mentioned before: environmental education, waste reduction and recycling, and sustainability. So in our environmental education program, we have 4 environmental educators who go out into schools all across Pierce County outside of the city of Tacoma to talk about recycling, composting, vermicomposting, or worm bin composting. They actually lug worm bins to schools and teach kids about worms and how food composting works. They also go out into the community and do the same thing, same programming, or they do custom programming with both schools, community groups. So if y'all are ever interested in having someone come out and talk about recycling or composting or something to do with climate change or the environment, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. All the programming is free. Our environmental educators also work on teacher professional development. They do summer camps, obviously in the summer, with our Pierce County Parks Department. And then we also work on youth engagement, so really trying to engage youth around environmental topics and try to get them involved in some of the decision making that we do in our team. So the next team we have is the waste reduction and recycling team. We have some recycling magnets. You can go on your fridge if you're interested in taking one of those home. So again, we have 2 solid waste recycling analysts, and they go out also into schools, into the community, to talk about the best practices for recycling and food waste reduction. Recycling can get really confusing, especially if you're someone who's moved around a lot, because recycling rules are really local. So depending on where you live, those recycling rules might be different across cities and across counties. So they do a lot of that education and outreach. You may have seen them at farmers market. They do lots of tabling events, and they do community cleanups, and then they have a voucher disposal program where eligible Pierce County residents receive a kind of like coupon or a voucher for waste, like large waste items that might not fit in your normal curbside bin. So if you want to learn more about that, I can pass along the contact for that program. And then the last kind of category of teams within the Sustainable Resources Division is sustainability. And what we work on is greenhouse gas reduction, and we do have a plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions across Pierce County by almost 50% by the year 2030, and Eurydice will talk a little bit more about that. And we also work on commute trip reduction. We have a team of people who go out into the community and talk about their Ride Together Pierce program. So they educate folks on different sustainable transportation options and try to get folks to carpool, telework, ride transit, walk, bike, anything but drive alone in their vehicles to whatever their destination is. And then all of our teams are really focused on equitable community engagement, so making sure we're meeting community members where they are and trying to design our programs with them, not necessarily for them. And now I think I'll pass it to Eurydice to talk a little bit about greenhouse gas emissions here in Pierce County.
Yeah, so we track our greenhouse gas emissions that are created by people because we are required by law to reduce them by the state and also by the county. We're aligned with the state target of reducing our human-generated greenhouse gas emissions 45% by 2030 from a 2015 baseline. That's our Pierce County target. 34% of our emissions in Pierce County come from the built environment, 31% from transportation. Land use, which includes clearing land for development, is 27%, and then refrigerants and wastewater make up together about 8%. It's much smaller. And over time, we know that our emissions have changed. From 2015 to 2019, they did increase, and they increased more than we would have expected just from our population increase in Pierce County. So approximately 16% overall, and population increase was only 7%. So per capita increased by 9%. We do plan to have numbers for another date. 2019, of course, is 5 years ago now. So we hope to see that the trend is decreasing emissions. You can go to the next slide because in Pierce County, we have a greenhouse gas reduction plan. It was signed by the county executive in April of 2021, and this is our 2030 greenhouse gas reduction plan. There was a previous iteration of that plan, Sustainability 2020, that had some similar actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and it's recently been updated. So the 2030 plan was updated in 2023, and now we have new actions. If you want to know more about this, it's available on our website. It's easy to find, and we can also provide a link later. You can look at our past plan and also our new plan, which does detail in the appendix all the actions that we completed or that we changed to suit our new circumstances and our new goals. So this is our new plan. It's very similar in the different plan focus areas. So it kind of aligns with where we know our emissions are coming from, the energy and built environment. Referring to the list on the right there, transportation, waste reduction. And these are specifically things that reduce greenhouse gas emissions. These are the names of the actions. So waste reduction, ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions related to the waste we generate. Nature-based climate solutions, that's ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions that are nature-based, like keeping trees in our urban areas or in our areas that are already green, or adding trees, maintaining kelp forests. Those are just some ways that are in our plan that we try to keep greenhouse gas emissions low or keep them not increasing. Education and outreach is another way that we try to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and then growing community capacity, which Nicole can speak to a lot more than I can, but the basic premise of that is that we come to communities and ask them how they envision reducing greenhouse gas emissions and give them information about it so that they can understand what it is we're working on and how we're trying to do it.
So I guess I'll go back for a second.
Yeah.
Within this slide, you see that in energy and built environment, that is a section of our plan where we're supporting electrification and energy efficiency of buildings. And so one of our projects within that broader category is these forums that we call Electric Future Forums. We did one at the Key-Pen Library, in October or so kind of a while ago now. But we've had 2 so far, and the idea is we're bringing community members along to better understand what kinds of home electrification rebates they're interested in, how is it that we can best support them using those rebates so that they can actually get used and aren't just, getting hoarded by someone else. We want to distribute the benefit of home electrification to everyone. And you also learning about what other groups should we be talking to, and because we weren't sure what participation might look like today, we have those questions that we did that forum. We have those in a survey. I have a few print options available, but we can go through those questions in a minute. But I think now I'll pass it on over to Eurydice to talk about this new home electrification campaign, and I think she'll be able to walk through the website so you can learn more about the different rebates that you have access to.
Yeah, so this is, I'm going to come over there. This is an action in our plan to bring rebates to Pierce County residents to be able to electrify. So for several months, myself and our team lead that also works on building electrification have been meeting with other jurisdictions, including King County, Thurston County, City of Tacoma, City of Olympia, and City of Seattle. And together, we are piloting this. It's an electrification inspiration campaign. So the Switches On it is a part of the Building Decarbonization Coalition, which is a nonprofit group, and they have been operating a website platform in California for several years that we have duplicated in Washington. And it is a 12-month pilot, and the purpose of this is a community-wide outreach campaign to excite community members about electrification and provide information about electrification and about rebates, because it's really complicated. There are federal tax incentives, but they don't apply to everyone in all of the same ways, and there are federal, state, and local rebates for different kinds of electrification options, and they don't all stack, so that they're limited. It's a really complicated mix of things, and so this website, it allows you to figure out the lay of this land a little bit more. So although it's just these 3 counties and some cities within the counties that are piloting this, the geographic reach of this website is the entire state. That's the goal. It is soft launched now, so we will provide the website to you, but there's still refinements happening. A couple weeks ago, there weren't Peninsula Light rebates. Now there are. So they're refining it. They're still working on it to get more and more information in. There is an inspiration campaign with community events. There was a kickoff event in Olympia last week, and there will be future events that are in different areas that people can come and talk to people in person and see an induction stove or a heat pump or another kind of electric product that you could replace a gas product with.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, for sure.
Are any of these rebates retroactive?
So some of them, yeah, some are.
Some are.
Yeah, I mean, a lot, the rebates that are available now that are from the federal government, there are some that did apply in 2023. And it's very complicated. This website does help you figure it out.
Okay.
It also does have a contractor list for home energy efficiency improvements, and these are not contractors that are vetted by the counties or cities or jurisdictions. They have been vetted by the Switches On team, the Building Decarbonization Coalition team. They have met requirements in that they have insurance, they are properly licensed to do the work that they are saying that they will do, and they also have been vetted for not having negative reviews online. And then part of this campaign will also provide outreach and web-based materials in multiple languages. So we are excited that over this next year, as we're going to different community events, we'll be able to provide information about these rebates and different kinds of electrification options, switching from fossil fuel powered gas furnace to an electric option like a heat pump, that kind of thing. So electric appliances, this website will talk you through all different kinds of options of electric appliances, from just cooktops in your home to the heat pump option that I talked about, or heat pump water heaters or heat pump dryers. There's little paragraphs that you can read, and there's also videos, and there's also customer testimonials. So there's lots and lots of information. This is something they already had built for California and I think another state in the country, but it's been customized for Washington to be more relevant to us. There's some things about the California climate, for example, that aren't exactly the same here. And there are some specific targeted information for renters, because even if you're a renter, there are still ways that you can have a healthier home environment using an induction cooktop, for example, instead of your gas appliance that is in your kitchen. Okay, so it isn't just reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but switching from fossil fuel appliances, gas or propane or oil or even wood stove, is also good for our health. It can be less expensive because electric options that are new today are much more efficient than previously. Comfort in your home is often increased when you do things like weatherize and make your home airtight, new windows, insulation, in preparation for switching to an electric heat pump, for example. And finally, as we've already talked about, the greenhouse gas emissions reduction is an important reason that people are electrifying and that we're promoting it. So this is what the incentive lookup looks like today. 98349, that's the zip code here, I think, for the Mustard Seed Project. And the website's showing 9 incentives. Many of them are the federal tax credits that are available now. There are Peninsula Light rebates available as well, and these things generally would be available both, not just one at a time. And there are more rebates coming from the state. That's a program that's still in development. We're waiting to hear how that's going to roll out and exactly what it's going to look like. But this is a living website that's going to be continuously updated. So as more information becomes available, it will be available on this website. You can look it up incentives depending on whether you're interested in a rebate, a tax credit, financing. There are some incentives that relate to financing that might be jurisdiction specific, related to your zip code. You can also look up whether you're interested in rebates that apply just to single family homes or to multifamily homes, and also by different equipment types. So there's lots of different ways to search. And I think, will I be able to go to the website? Okay.
It seems like the rebates are very specific, like you get a rebate for a heat pump. You don't necessarily get a rebate for adding extra insulation to the outside of your house or something like that.
There are rebates related to insulation,
Okay.
Electric vehicles, preparing your home for electrification. Adding, doing electrical work.
What about putting in radiant floor heat? Do you recall anything like that?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't recall anything
I know,
about.
I'm putting you on the spot. But
That's okay. Yeah, I don't think that.
questions will come up.
I don't think radiant floor heat. Definitely weatherization, doing energy audits of your home. These are things that are federal incentives right now, and the federal incentives are generally tax credits, most of them. So if it's someone that is low income and doesn't have a tax burden, they're not eligible to receive a tax credit. They will not benefit from that. So the rebates that are coming from the state are going to be targeted to low and moderate income families that can't benefit from the federal tax credit, and those things will pay for larger portions of these projects that are needed for,
Okay, thank you.
you got to it.
Yes.
Yeah, there's just a wealth of information on this website. You can get to information in several different ways. They do also have a search. Do they have a search? They do have different languages for sure. English and Chinese, Filipino, Korean, Russian. So that translates the website directly.
Is there a certain page I should go to?
Is there anything in particular you're interested in seeing? There's no, like, what is an induction cooktop? Commonly asked questions. And this has been, this is a great, really quick resource. And then from the main page, going and searching about kitchen appliances or about home heating, you can find the videos and the testimonials. Yes.
If you were in the market for getting an induction cooktop, would you want to apply for the rebate before you go out and purchase it, or how does that work? How do you get the rebate?
Yeah, so you would want to read about it here first. You enter your zip code and make sure the induction cooktop is a tax incentive right now. And I don't know if there are any rebates available for your zip code specifically yet. It's something that's really changing pretty quickly. So,
Okay. But it's something you could apply for if you've recently purchased.
it's very complicated, and it's really specific to your situation. So there's something called point of sale rebates, where when you're purchasing it from the retail company, you can be eligible to get a rebate from taking your receipt and then sending that in. There's also rebates that you get applied to your bill from a contractor, not for your induction cooktop, for different work. Utilities work in different ways as well, so how that rebate is applied is complex. And I'm not an expert on, I just know it's complicated, and we are hoping to make it easier with this website. Even so, you can see there's a lot to consider. But
so if someone had additional questions that they weren't finding the answers on the website, or they weren't comfortable navigating the website,
yes.
Is there a phone number they could talk to someone over the phone?
I don't believe that we have that capability yet. That's something that was explored because we know that a website isn't the easiest way for people to necessarily interact. We do have a home energy webpage that definitely has contact information for us, doesn't it, on our sustainability webpage?
And that is great feedback.
Yeah.
Hearing, that you would like someone's help to navigate a website, that is really valuable feedback for us to hear, because that's the kind of information we want to hear from y'all. What would make it easier for you to access these rebates? If it's, having a program set up where there's a hotline you can call someone, that's great for us to know, because that's something we could definitely consider and spend, some of our staff capacity in doing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people that we're certainly helping are not very familiar with websites and how to navigate them. So if there isn't something like that set up, it would probably have to be one of our volunteers sitting with them and going through it that way, which is also possible, but it's a lot slower.
It takes time to set up.
Last year and this year in the state legislature, there is a bill, and I think that it's still alive, although it's a short session this year. So It's for a similar kind of program, a navigator program, to help people navigate these rebates. And we have been providing feedback on that, and it's available to the public too as well. What would this ideally look like for Washington State residents? And that isn't uncommon, that people want some kind of call line. In California, their Switches On program is a little more mature, and they do have community ambassadors available that you can click and send an email and get a response. And it could be a call, it could be an interaction via email, but it could also be something more personal to help guide a person's journey and figuring out what's right for them. And our other partners in Thurston County and King County were saying the same thing, that we need to have a call line, where people can go to get information that isn't only on the internet. And that's a huge expense, and we're hopeful that the state will stand up a program related to the state rebates that will have more staff capacity to give one-on-one assistance. But in the meantime, we are public servants and available to help. So yeah, our email and phone numbers are part of our presentation, and we do welcome community questions and asks for assistance at any time.
Any other questions on the rebate website? We'd be happy. I just typed in the mustard seed zip code, kind of like Eurydice had done in the slide. So if you like, we can kind of just click through some of these different buttons. Otherwise, are there any other questions related to the rebates, the website? So we do have, as I had mentioned at the forums that we've done before, we had like a set list of questions that we wanted to ask folks. You know, what kinds of rebates are you interested in? What are some of the barriers that you might face in accessing those rebates? You know, what are the ways that we might help support you in actually accessing those rebates, etc. So we put all those questions in a survey so that y'all could take now if you wanted to. You could take it at home when we're done here. I have just a few paper versions as well if you prefer paper options. So I'm gonna maybe stay here for a couple minutes and see what everyone's preference is.
How many questions are there on the survey?
Yeah, it's a great question. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Would you mind very much just reading them
Sure.
out so that it's on the recording?
Absolutely, yeah, great idea. Okay, so the first question is, and I can pause if you want to answer, so if you're like, why isn't she saying anything? That's time for you to chime in if you'd like. So the first question, what's most important to you about energy efficiency?
Saving money.
Saving money, yes, absolutely. What energy efficiency improvements are you most excited about? For example, home weatherization, which could include new windows, insulation, etc., a heat pump dryer, a heat pump water heater, a smart thermostat, an electric stove or cooktop, an electric vehicle, a heat pump, or new electric panel and rewiring. Those are some, just a small subset of examples.
Well, I'm very excited about the fact that before Christmas we put another 2 inches of insulation around the outside of our house, and we finished installing new windows, and my heat bill has gone down
That's great.
incredibly, even with that really cold long weekend.
Yeah.
It's made a huge difference.
And I would expect that makes a difference in the summer as well.
It probably will.
Yeah,
Yes.
you'll know when we get there.
And that's something we really strive to have folks understand, is that weatherizing your home, you know, adding insulation, considering getting those new windows really important to look into before you go out and try to figure out like a new heat pump system, because you really want to be able to see the value in installing something else. So making sure that those home weatherization efforts are in place first is something that hopefully the website can help you with as well. The next question we had was, what are barriers to accessing home energy efficiency rebates and improvements?
The obvious barrier to improvements is the cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time the rebates aren't going to help that much, enough money for it.
Yeah.
Also knowing what's out there, knowing what's available, and what someone would qualify for.
Yeah, and to clarify about the website, it does contain more information about low income versus moderate income. So if you believe that you qualify, I believe you can check to see, entering your income, not your personal information, but just to see which incentives might apply to this income level. Yeah.
How do you apply for the rebate? What's the process?
Once you know about it, yeah. So the website does give you links, for example, to Peninsula Light, yeah, or to another site that tells you how to apply for those federal incentives. The state rebates are not available yet, so that will be different. A lot of it is designed for people to access online, but some of it will be handled through a contractor if it's a big project, if it's some kind of larger contract. I assume, actually, that's not in place yet. That's, yeah.
Yes. So go ahead.
Do you know if the state programs will also be on the website?
Yes, they will be. When those are available, we will put these on our website. And as I mentioned, the state is considering a similar kind of program to help people understand all of the different rebates, and it won't be stood up or available likely until next year. The rebates should be available in 2024 from the state for these same kinds of projects that the federal government and utilities are offering rebates for, but we don't think that the state will have a website available until 2025 or later. So this is like a stopgap, like something to be in place for the state in between times. And I mentioned that it's a small number of jurisdictions that are partnering together and paying for this service, and all of Washington can benefit. But in approximately June, we'll be thinking about what other partners might want to help make this more robust. And it may be that when the state does stand something up, it will be an expanded version of this, or it'll be similar if it's not the same. Yeah. But yeah, that is the goal, is that every rebate that comes out within the next 12 months will be available to see and be explained on this website. Yeah, that's part of the contract. Yeah, it may be, and we do welcome if something seems to be missing, feedback on that. Yeah.
If you have something that qualifies for a rebate, would you qualify for more than one, like for Penn Light and state and maybe federal as well?
Yeah, no, not always, but yes, that's possible. That's definitely a possibility.
And that should be something that the website
Shows.
figure out. It's not just gonna be like, you can apply for all of these. It should be personalized enough for you in that way.
And one thing to know about the federal incentives, the tax incentives, those are expected to last until approximately 2032, I believe. So, and there is an annual limit. I think it's different for different projects, but around $2,000. But so spacing out your projects from year to year is a wise move as relates to the federal incentives. If you do everything in 1 year, then you're not eligible for as much money back on your taxes. That's just a tip. I think that it will be available on the website. Yeah.
Next question is, what kinds of programs or resources would be most helpful for learning about and accessing information on home and vehicle electrification? So this is kind of getting at what you said, that maybe having someone, a hotline person you can call to walk you through the website. So that could be something, maybe it's more community classes where, you know, for example, Eurydice and I come into a class and actually sit down with folks and walk them through the website. Maybe it's peer-to-peer learning. Maybe you want to hear from, you know, your neighbor on what their personal experience was like in electrifying their home. Maybe it's through websites or newsletters. So that's the question.
I think a workshop
Mm-hmm.
with laptops.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't have one, they could come here and sit down one-on-one
That's great.
to navigate. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah. Took me back to like elementary school when we had the computers on wheels, or the cows as we called them, and you know, you could have everyone had a laptop and you practiced using the laptop. It would be helpful to have. And then the last question we were asking is about electric vehicles, because the rebates do include, or the website will show you rebates for new and used electric vehicles. So we're also, our team is working on increasing electric vehicle charging infrastructure throughout Pierce County, and recognizing that, you know, there are you know, in more rural areas, there might be more of a need. We might need to focus more on rural areas and bringing and prioritizing electric vehicle charging infrastructure there. So the question is, where would you like to see electric vehicle chargers?
I think at all the grocery stores, I know there's one near Fred Meyer in Carver, or one in the Fred Meyer parking lot, I should say, but that's the only one I know
Yeah.
of.
It's one of the tides.
It's one of the types.
I think we'd like to have some here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be a
We've
bad
talked
idea.
about it. Civic Center.
Yes.
I'd also be interested in learning about if there's any rebates for installing one at your home, in
Is
your
there?
garage, or the cost of that.
I think that there,
Or I guess it's just a plug-in at home.
yes, but
Now-
you, yeah,
It's just an outlet.
not, you can use just now, it's very slow charging, and then there's this level 2, which is often used for a home charger, and it requires its own, I think it's 220, it's got to have its own dedicated 220 circuit, and it still takes several hours to charge, but I believe that that is part of the electrification incentives and the EV rebates and incentives might be missing from the website still. Yeah, and solar is also eligible for federal rebates, or tax incentives, I should say, and I don't know that it's here yet, but will be. It will be. We've asked that all kinds of electrification and solar and renewable options are on this. So it's, let's see, today's the 22nd. They have given us a date of February 29th to have it be really ready to launch. So it's soft launched now. But that is a great, like if you could, it's a consideration, why buy an EV if you can't charge it at home? And it's not totally minor to put in a new place for your EV to plug into your home.
And then the last question on this was just if you would like to receive email updates from our team and sign up for our e-newsletter that we recently started sending out once a month. So I do have an email sign up list over here. So if you'd like to sign up, and those are all the questions.
Either your case, might be better coming to you and you can forward it to case. Well, I have a question that you may or may not be able to answer. Where is all this electricity going to come from? Because we're taking out dams, which I totally support. But is there going to be a massive emphasis on solar farms? Where is all this extra electricity going to come from in order to make this successful?
Yeah, we definitely know that we'll need more energy, and that's, there's state laws that are requiring the utilities in our state to have their energy be all clean and renewable energy, not sourced from fossil fuels, I think by 2035 at the latest. And making things more efficient is a way to make the energy stretch longer. So that's something that everyone, all jurisdictions and states and utility companies are working on, is making things more efficient, but tackling renewables as well, like at all sources. So there is still some hydropower that isn't going away, but hydropower and wind power are both variable sources, and when power is generated, it has to be used right then. And another challenge that we have, and that's not really exactly our work, but it's something that I know about related to energy policy, climate change is affecting how much precipitation falls as rain versus snow, and if the water's coming down and creating that hydropower, when we can't use it, it doesn't do us any good. So the utility companies and things bigger than just our local government are working on projecting our power needs into the future as we're shifting to electric vehicles and to electric heat pumps. We do need more power. One exciting thing that's not related to Pierce County is that there's a tidal energy project that's happening on Orcas Island. So it's a way of harnessing energy from the tides in East Sound. There's a lot of federal money for exploring things like that. Another interesting thing, and I'm not sure which utility this is connected to, is gravity-related energy generation. So it's storing water or something else. When you have that renewable energy like wind or hydro, but you can't use it, you push water or something else to a high location. Then when you do need the power, you let it run down through gravity and power turbines. So there's just people working on this above our level all over the state and the country.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Question?
Do we know if solar power is efficient in our climate?
In Washington State,
Yeah, Western Washington.
what I've heard that it is.
It might not work as well as it does in California or Eastern Washington,
Yeah.
but it certainly is, an option.
And solar powered with battery storage at homes or at larger buildings is something that I think more and more people are interested in, and there will be tax incentives available for that, so that if you can't use it when it's generated, you can store it and use it later. So
I thought you could sell it back to Peninsula Light.
yeah, net metering, that's the term for that, and the laws in Washington State are shifting. I mean, there's I think that you can sell some amount of it back. I think that is true. But at what rate? It's not a money maker. I don't think that's something people should think about solar as, but as something that's just part of your home energy solution if you can do it. It's not free to install. I mean, and they have about a 20 to 25 year life, solar panels do. Another thing that's happening around the world is programs to recycle solar panels, because you've probably heard that solar panels and batteries have rare elements that they're finite, just like fossil fuels. So it's not something we can or should just throw away. We need to keep it in circulation and in use.
Well, we don't have to do this right now, but this is just something that we like to do in any kind of group capacity is, when we talk about topics related to our environment and climate change, we recognize that a lot of people might feel overwhelmed, like they want to contribute something, but they don't know how because it's such a big problem to tackle. And so this is one way where you can feel a little more grounded, and it's a kind of a personalized action tool. So it's kind of like a Venn diagram activity. So we ask you to identify what brings you joy, what gets you up in the morning, because if you don't do those things, it could lead to burnout, which make you not want to contribute to your community. The next thing to consider is what are you good at? So we all have special skill sets that we bring to the table. Who's your network? What are your resources? And then the last thing is, what is the work that needs doing specific to your local community? And so thinking about those three things together maybe gets you at the center of maybe something that's more personable for you that you can do. So that's just something for you to think about if you'd like. And just here's our contact information. We do have, as I mentioned before, these recycling magnets. They help you identify what goes in the recycling bin, what goes in the garbage. We have food waste reduction resources. So this is from our waste reduction and recycling team. So one of the ways that we can reduce the amount of food that we throw away is by planning accordingly. So there's some resources here to help with that. And then, thank you, our environmental education team partners with the conservation district to provide composting, gardening classes, and so there's a full schedule here for 2024 about classes that are being held both in person and virtual, and some of them are even hybrid events as well. And we do have, I believe Mustard Seed works with our human services team as well, but we do have some of these little small brochures from them. And that is it from us. If you're welcome to stay and chat or anything like that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just wondered how Pierce County is doing with recycling.
Oh, that's a great question. So we have, we do something called a waste trends analysis, and I believe we haven't done that for a few years because of COVID, but actually I can pull up that website right now. So what we do is we have a team of extra hires that we hire for a couple weeks in the summer to basically take samples of all the recycling that gets collected throughout Pierce County and dig through it and actually sort it, and then it gives us a percentage of how well we are doing. So I can actually pull that up because it's really interesting, and I believe we are doing it this year.
I think so, yeah.
And if you are interested in recycling classes, we are launching just some more classes that we're doing on a weekly basis, and a lot of those will be focused on recycling. And if you want to sign up for getting updates, we do have that email sign up list.
Is there a recycling center here in Penzt?
Yes.
Do they accept class?
And then there's, we do have, I believe on here it says, if you just go to the piercecountylaw.gov/recycle, there's, you'll find all sorts of information of glass drop-off locations, household hazardous waste drop-off locations, stuff like that.
It's between the middle school and
So it looks like that waste sort happened in, or this is the waste sort. I know we have a recycling one as well, but it's the same thing. It's still pretty interesting. We can see that this bar at the bottom, much of this material is recyclable. So I can't do quick math. I don't know, is that like 40% roughly of things that are being thrown away are actually recyclable. And I do believe that in terms of our recycling, contamination, so things that shouldn't be in the recycling bin, there's a lot of contamination in Pierce County. I think it's about 10 to 15% of what is being recycled should not be recycled. And so that does cause a lot of problems downstream when companies wanting to buy, you know, the metal or the paper bales, that does cause some problems there. I'm not the expert. We do have that waste reduction recycling team knows a lot more.
Something related is that food waste compost will now be accepted in your yard waste starting this spring in Pierce County and in Kitsap County as well. And it's related to new state laws that require that food waste be composted rather than thrown in the regular garbage, because it causes methane gas, which is a really highly potent greenhouse gas. So we're trying to keep food waste out of the regular garbage, and it does require different processes to recycle food waste from your kitchen in with the regular yard waste. So there's upgrades that have to happen, and that's all in process right now. And that's going to be changing around the whole state, but the individual requirements in each county are different. For example, I live in Bremerton, and pizza boxes will be accepted in the yard waste, but they will not be in Pierce County. So it depends on the equipment on the other end that's processing the yard waste bin.
Do you know if there's a place in Pierce County that accepts paint spray cans?
Paint spray cans. I wonder at the Tacoma place. You know, that's far from here.
Did you say paint cans?
Paint spray paint cans.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's across from Cheney Stadium.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Good to know, yeah.
There's a button somewhere on our website where you can search. Yeah, so here's all sorts of items that you can look at and see.
I think it was at the top, aerosol cans.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Hey, there you go. Full, so there's no empty. That's odd. Anyway.
I think empty cans you wrap in newspaper and put in the regular garbage, but I don't know.
We can get back to you.
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
Hey, unempty. Accepted.
That would be full. Or not empty, I'm sure. With some left in it.
That's confusing.
Yeah.
It's also very English, but I digress.
Noted.
Any other questions? Well, feel free to come up and grab resources, sign up for our newsletter, receive some of those updates about classes. Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is great.